Hi, I want to continue reading our story, The Night at Dawn by Mary Pope Osborne. This is the second book in the series, Magic Treehouse series. We know that our main characters are Jack and Annie, their brother and sister. And whenever they have found this magic treehouse in their woods by their house, and when they look at a book and say, I want to go there and point to it, that's where they end up going. So Annie wanted to go to the place that had castles and knights. Jack wasn't so sure about it. And so that's where they are right now. So let's see what happens next. So the chapter 3 is across the bridge. Annie was under the tree looking across the foggy ground. The knight's riding toward that bridge, I think, said Annie. The bridge goes to the castle. Wait, I'll look it up, said Jack. Give me the flashlight. He took the flashlight from her and pulled the castle book out of his pack. He opened it to the page with the leather bookmark. He read the words under the picture of the knight. This is a knight arriving for a castle feast. Knights wore armor when they traveled long and dangerous distances. The armor was very heavy. A helmet alone could weigh up to 40 pounds. Wow, 40 pounds. That is super heavy, super heavy. I'm trying to think, like when a baby is born, it can weigh about 7 pounds. Okay. I'm wondering how much you guys weigh right now. I'm not sure. So, but it's a lot to put on your top of your head and hang it, like keep your neck up. I think that'd be hard to ride a horse with that on too. Wow. Jack had weighed 40 pounds when he was 5 years old. So I guess maybe you'd be about that much. So it would be like riding a horse with a 5-year-old on your head. Jack pulled out his notebook. He wanted to take notes as he had done on their dinosaur trip. He wrote, heavy head. Now, a good thing for scientists to do is to take notes so that you remember things. And so that's what Jack is doing. He's keeping track and taking notes of the things that he sees and learns. And that's something you could be doing right now. Okay. As you are out exploring in maybe your yard, maybe you could be taking notes like he is. What else? He turned the pages of the castle book and he found a picture that showed the whole castle and the buildings around it. The knight's crossing the bridge, said Annie. He's going through the gate. He's gone. Jack studied the bridge in the picture. He read, a drawbridge crossed the moat. The moat was filled with water to help protect the castle from enemies. Some people believe crocodiles were kept in the moat. So Jack wrote in his notebook, crocodiles in moat? He put a question mark because he wasn't sure. Look, said Annie, peering through the mist, a windmill right over there. Yeah, there's a windmill in here too, said Jack, pointing at the picture. Look at the real one, Jack, said Annie, not the one in the book. A piercing shriek, that's a loud scream, split the air. That means they could hear it. Yikes, said Annie. It sounded like it came from that little house over there. She pointed through the fog. There's a little house here, said Jack, studying the picture. He turned the page and read. The Hawk House was in the inner ward of the castle. Hawks were trained to hunt other birds and small animals. Jack wrote in his notebook, Hawks in the Hawk House. Okay. So there's the picture. And that's the drawbridge. They would lift that drawbridge up and it would cover the door. And then when someone needed to cross it, they would put it back down. I'm thinking you did something like that for art, that to draw a picture of a castle and the drawbridge and the moat. We must be in the inner ward, said Jack. Listen, whispered Annie. You hear that? Drums, horns. They're coming from the castle. Let's go see. Wait, said Jack. He turned more pages of the book. I want to see what's really going on, Jack, not what's in the book, said Annie. But look at this, said Jack. He pointed to the picture of a big party. Men were standing by the door playing drums and horns. He read, fanfares were played to announce different dishes in a feast. Feasts were held in the great hall. So at that time period, they might have had like we have like this is how I eat whenever I go to a restaurant. That first I would get a salad. And so they would blow the horns to say, okay, now here's your salad. Then you might have then the main course. And so they would blow the horns to say, okay, here comes something different. And then maybe you would have dessert. They would have more courses than that, but more times like different kinds of food coming out. You can look at the book. I'm going to the real feast, said Annie. Wait, said Jack, studying the picture. It showed boys his age carrying trays of food. Whole pigs, pies, peacocks with all their feathers. Peacocks, Jack wrote. They eat peacocks? And he put a question mark because he didn't know. He held up the book to show Annie. Look, I think they eat. Where was she? Gone. Again. Jack looked through the fog. He heard the real drums and the real horns. He saw the real hawk house and the real windmill, the real moat. He saw Annie dashing across the real drawbridge. Then she vanished through the gate leading to the castle. So chapter 4, I'll read next, is Into the Castle. So I want you to predict, what do you think they're going to do when they get into the castle? Is there going to be something that's going to happen? What do you think will happen once they're in the castle? Remember, when we make predictions, we base the predictions on what we know, because we know a lot of things, and what the author is telling us in the pictures and the text. That's our text evidence. So based on what we've read so far, what do you think they're going to do when they get into the castle? Okay, well, I talked about this feast. So my guess is maybe they're going to go to find the feast because they know they hear drums and they hear horns. That helps them know where it is. So we're going to find out what happens. So the next chapter is Into the Castle because I'm thinking based on that title, they're for sure going to go in. So let's see if we can find out what happens.